You know, a few weeks ago, I received a reminder for my routine medical checkup. And if any of you took this checkup lately, means that you're over 40, you probably know that these are very comprehensive tests. So they test your blood pressure and your level of B12 and your cholesterol and your sight and your hearing and your heart. And you can even talk to a psychiatrist if you want. These are very important tests, by the way. Go do them on schedule. But the thing is that these checkups were designed for the Homo sapiens. They are not good enough for the Homoconnecticus because for the Homoconnecticus, a comprehensive test should also include testing the wellness and good functioning of this wonderful new organ that we have as Connecticus, and this is our social network. And in the time slot that I have here, I want to describe to you a new and very innovative method that we developed in our research team that can help us to quantify the value of our social connections and can actually tell us how good and functioning our social networks are. And actually what we want to use this tool is to take two people and to compare whose social network is better, who is more Connecticus. In the same way, we can compare their height, their weight, or their physical strength. And as Sinan told us, the most classical and natural way of measuring someone's social value is to count how many connections this person has. And we call this term degree. So the degree of an individual is the number of other people with whom this person is connecting. So if you take this network, for example, it describes the connections between people who share information on computer equipment. And this guy here has a degree of 1, since he's connected only to one person. But this person over there has a degree of 2,218, since he's actively exchanging information with 2,218 people. So from a degree point of view, this guy here is way better off than this lonesome fellow over there. And for the Homoconnecticus, it's very, very important to have a high degree. So if we take Ashton Kutcher, that Sinan talked about, in 1999, Ashton Kutcher had about 800,000 followers on Twitter. And he was ranked number 3 after CNN and Britney Spears. And, so it's very good, but it was not good enough for him. And he spent a lot of money and efforts on those billboards in order to become number 1. And eventually he made it, and he managed to pass CNN and become the first ever Twitter user with more than 1 million followers. So it was really important for him. And these people who have an exceptionally high degree in their network are called social hubs. And this guy here, his name is Ron Bates. He's from San Francisco. And he is one of the people with the highest number of LinkedIn connections. LinkedIn is a professional virtual social network. So for LinkedIn, Ron Bates is a social hub. And the fact that I know that Ron Bates is a social hub means that he somehow took care to advertise that. And so it's kind of a thing that it's important to people. But the problem with degree is that it's a structural measure. It's not functional. It measures your location, your position in the network, but it doesn't measure your performance. And just to give an analogy to the medical world, degree is like those tests that test your bone structure or your muscle strength, but they cannot tell us how fast you can run a 100-meter sprint or how many scores you will shoot in a basketball game. So together with my two colleagues, Barak Libai from the Interdisciplinary Center in Herzliya and Eitan Mueller from Tel Aviv University, we tried to look for a measure which will actually quantify the value of information that you push into the network, how effective one is in promoting a behavioral change, and that's the important thing, relative to other people. Because even if you do it very well and other people are doing it better than you, then it might be that you're not as impactful as you thought you are. And in order to develop this measure, we were inspired by a well-known American classic, a 1948 Frank Capra movie called It's a Wonderful Life. Now, do we have here people who grew up in America, are American, received American education? Please raise your hands. Okay, so do you know It's a Wonderful Life? Do you watch it every Christmas? So this is, for the Americans, it's the ultimate Christmas movie. It's like a Givat Khalfon for the Israelis. It's kind of a cult movie. And it tells the story of a very compassionate and frustrated business person named George. And George wants to commit a suicide. Okay? And then an angel is sent to him from heaven to help him by showing him how life would have been if George never existed. Okay, and the notion is that only by the absence of someone you can understand their true value. And let us watch a scene from the movie. So can you play the video, please? Owen? This is George.
Strange, isn't it? Each man's life touches so many other lives. And when he isn't around, he leaves an awful hole, doesn't he?
I've heard of things like this. You got me in some kind of a spell or something. Well, I'm going to get out of it. I'll get out of it. And I know how, too. Now, the last man I talked to before all this stuff started happening to me was Martini.
You know where he lives?
Well, sure I know where he lives. He lives in Bailey Park.
Are you sure this is Bailey Park?
No, I'm not sure of anything anymore. All I know is this should be Bailey Park. But where are the houses?
You went here to build them. Your brother, Harry Bailey, broke through the ice and was drowned at the age of 9.
That's a lie. Harry Bailey went to war. He got the Congressional Medal of Honor. He saved the lives of every man on that transport.
Every man on that transport died. Harry wasn't there to save them because you weren't there to save Harry. You see, George, you really had a wonderful life. Don't you see what a mistake it would be to throw it away?
Okay. So our definition of social value is very, very similar in spirit. Look at this social network. And let's say that a new idea of product is now launched into it. And look at this guy here in the middle. And assume that he or she, they adopt the innovation, but they do not distribute any communication about it. The innovation will spread in the social system because of communication from other people, because of advertising, many things. And then the social system will end up with a certain level and speed of adoption. So this is the equivalent to the life without your social influence. Now, let's start playing this scenario all over again. But this time, the only difference, everything is the same. The only difference is that this person is now communicating about the product or idea that he or she adopted. Now, this very small local change will start creating growing changes in the system. Some new adopters will join, others will join earlier, some might not join at all. And eventually, all these small changes will translate into a new level of adoption and speed of the social system, which hopefully will be a little bit higher than before due to this boost, tiny little boost of social influence by this person. Now, what is the contribution of this person, since the only difference between the scenarios is this word of mouth of the person? The contribution will be the performance of the social system between the two scenarios. So we define social value as the incremental value, the global incremental addition to the performance, the speed and level of adoption in the system that was caused due to the word of mouth of a single person, given the fact that there is advertising and there are other people distributing word of mouth. And the way we actually calculate it is through large-scale computer simulations. So we take structures of data, structures of networks that we have data on, and we build would-be words with and without the word of mouth of different types of people in order to try and see what their social value is. And I want to share with you some of our findings. The first question we wanted to answer was, who are the real people of value in the network? If you take these two people here, the only one friend person and the social hub, who has a higher social value? Remember that according to our definition is whose absence of word of mouth will be missed the most. Now, what do you think? Let's have a little show of hands. Please raise your hands if you think that this social hub person will have a higher social value. Okay. Now raise your hands if you think that this only one friend guy will have a higher social value. Don't be shy. Okay. Okay. Who thinks, please, now there's a third alternative. Raise your hands if you think that there is no difference, that they are the same. Okay, so what we find is that, of course, the social hub has a higher social value, but the interesting finding is that the difference is not that big. This guy here is 2,218 times more connected than this only one friend person, but his average social value is only 30% higher. To state it otherwise, this lonesome fellow, his absence or absence will be missed only on average like 30% less than the social hubs of the network. Now you can say, okay, it might be that those social hubs don't have such a huge social value because, as Sinan told us, they're not very influential. You know, we all know, most of us know who Ashton Kutcher is, but we don't do what he tells us to do. So if so, what about experts? Experts are people who are highly knowledgeable in a specific domain. There are things they know, they have relevant expertise, and usually when the experts speak, we tend to listen and to be convinced. So we applied different level of expertise in our simulations and tested whether experts have a higher social value than the average person. And what we find is that indeed experts do have more social value, but not much more. Their additional contribution is only 20% more relative to the average non-expert person. Does it mean that experts are not important? Of course they are. If you have an expert in-house, use them. 20% is a very, very nice gain. But if they are very expensive to get, if they are inaccessible, if it's hard to hire them, it's hard to motivate them for your purpose, then a bunch of regular guys can do the job pretty well. Now, what is the meaning of these findings? These findings mean that in a Connecticus society, the average person is more important than ever before. The social network acts like a huge amplifier that emphasizes bits of knowledge and fractions of talents and merges them together. The social network does not diminish the talented, the connected, the influential, but it rather leverages the average person by compensating for the disadvantages of one person with the capabilities and advantages of other people around him. Now, we're still very far from the point where medical insurers can use our tool in order to evaluate the social network of people. I'm not even sure that this is our final goal, but we are using this tool. We are working on it. We're very, very excited because this tool is a very powerful analyzer that really lets us understand or help us understand some of the mysteries and intricate relationships in the social networks we live in. Thank you very much.